Hi, thank you for joining. This is one of our special exclusive series that we're putting together. And it's really something that came to me talking with some other people about what's happening in our society. We have our fireside chats, and that's really dealing with our kids and what's happening there. And when I started talking to a lot of people, obviously I'm running for school board. I love to learn more about the community and tie it in with my experience. And what I found was there's a lot of issues that we're dealing with, and why not use this venue as a way to just talk about what's happening in our community, our society, and maybe hopefully we could have a different view on the people that live in this very diverse community. So today I have the pleasure of having Dina Roma here. Now, Dina came to us in 1993. She immigrated from El Salvador 30 years ago. And I just found out that she's going to be getting her citizenship from naturalization citizenship here very shortly. And hopefully I'm invited. Uh, but there's a lot of parallel that I see. And when I wanted this topic and really want to talk about this topic, and the topic is living as an immigrant in Fairfax County, but it goes beyond that, living as an immigrant in our country and what are we dealing with? Me, myself being of, Filipino and Puerto Rican descent and living in, being born in Puerto Rico and moving to California and then moving here to Virginia in 2000 and 2002, it really opened my eyes to a lot of different things I wasn't exposed to. And I can't imagine uh, how it would be if I was an immigrant here, considering that I dealt with certain things that, you know, it just wasn't the best. So what we're going to talk about with Dina, thank you for being here. We also have a special guest. If you can see her head popping down, her daughter Anna. She was graced us with her fireside chat um, because some of the words I say may not come across correctly, or some of the things that Miss Dina wants to say, she may not be able to put it together correctly. So we want to make sure the message comes out. Uh, so Dina, you moved here in 1993, 30 years ago, and you came here. You're telling me by yourself. That must be, and I know we were talking prior that I can't imagine by yourself coming to a new country. How much English did you have at that time?
Right now, it's not a lot, a lot of English, but I am learning every
Hmm.
day. Thank you so much for your invitation for me. But it's nothing easy for coming people from the country different for coming here, America, because first difficult is speaking.
Yeah.
The language, speak English. My country is El Salvador. My language is Spanish.
Hmm.
You know, it's it's very very difficult because for the people looking your face is only looking for discrimination.
Yeah, and I've experienced a little bit about that when I moved over, and um, so my family, my mom's Puerto Rican, and if you met some Puerto Ricans, the Spanish is very fast. But and my dad's Filipino, and so when we moved into I was born in Puerto Rico. We moved to Virginia, and I was in Virginia for about 3 to 4 years growing up, and then moved to California, San Diego. My parents decided not to teach me any other language, and the reason why was they did not want me to face any discrimination of having um, a different language or having an accent. They wanted that so-called blend in, and I personally didn't really understand it. Not understanding why did you teach me Spanish? If you if you yell at me, I'll pick it up real fast. but I really didn't understand it until I actually moved to Virginia, and there's my first time where I actually went to a government building, and I had to fill out something, a form, and on the form it had, what's your nationality? So I go to a nice lady and I say, what do I check off for American? And then she tells me, well, that's Caucasian. And it was my first real look at, I wouldn't say racism, but the stereotype. Because I'm not white, a Caucasian, I'm not American. And I did get offended. I actually told her that. I said, so being American is a skin color? And what I look at, and I love America so much, is the diversity of America. America is built upon people from all cultures coming together and loving our country because America represents an idea of freedom, an idea of being part of something, an idea of being able to have the opportunity to grow yourself. What I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is, tell me what you experienced. I mean, obviously I experienced it and I didn't have an accent and I spoke the language and still experienced it in Virginia. Tell me about your experience.
My experience for coming here in 1993, I remember for me coming October 4, 1993, immigration for here. I mean only. For coming here, I don't have a parent, I don't have a mother, I don't have a father. It's me only. I'm married young, 18 years. I'm coming here for my husband, ex-husband. Together only two people, my husband and me, ex-husband and me. That's it. And it's nothing easy for coming here because I'm living here for 30 years only in Virginia and Route 1.
Oh, wow.
And Route 1, Richmond Howard Route 1. And for working, I remember that my first work is cleaning house. And after past year, I'm aboard my second daughter. I'm having one daughter. She's aboard in my country, El Salvador. The name is Rosa. My second daughter aboard here in America. And my third daughter is Anna. And then my fourth is Daniel.
Okay.
And it's nothing easy for me because for me, remember, past year, I working in one empresa. ¿Cómo se dice empresa?
One enterprise.
Enterprise. For 70 years.
Okay.
And enterprise working, I know I speak in English absolutely nothing. I'm zero. I passed maybe 4 years for me inside and impressed,
Yes.
Okay. For me, girl, and this impress, I know give name because for no promotion.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. You tell me, remember the before my life. My life is difficult and impressed because I remember from one manager tell me, say, I don't understand absolute nothing English. I don't understand what's your name, how are you, hello, And usually working for people Hispanic before, in one restaurant.
Yeah.
Before cleaning house, only people Hispanic. I don't speak English.
Yeah.
For the press inside, or everybody people English.
Yeah.
For me inside, my first remember the first word. The manager the permanent manager tell me, say, oh, for why you here working, so you don't understand English. For why you not go back in your country, see this country is not your country, it's not your city. And Aimea no es possibly respond. A little understand, but no es possibly respond.
Yeah.
But she's pressure for me, too much abuse, too much discrimination, too much abuse for my work.
Yeah.
You know, very, very similar esclavo. Esa empresa, ¿cómo se dice?
Enterprise.
Enterprise.
Mhm.
This enterprise, too much discrimination for the people in Spain.
Yeah.
A lot. For 70 years, a lot of discrimination.
You know, what I found is, you know, discrimination really becomes a point of not understanding people, not understanding why. You know, when people say that, you know, why are you here? Go back home to your country. You know, our country is built on diversity. It's built on welcoming. And when we look at this, you know, having those comments because you don't speak a language doesn't take away from the love that you have of the country. And me, myself, you know, going to the military and serving, I did that because of diversity. And when I see things like that, where people are blatantly saying, you know, you don't belong here or anything, it's just not the Hispanic community. It could be any community within Fairfax County. But it's more dominant than I'm seeing, having my roots also in Hispanic. I don't think there's enough that's being shown out there. I don't think there's enough attention to some of the underlying discrimination. And I kind of get it from both areas. You got the Hispanic side of me, then you got the Asian side of me. And so I kind of am in this area where I can see it on both ends, some of the discrimination, but it's just not, it's kind of that push it under the rug. And it truly does make people feel like you're a second-class citizen.
But the people don't understand for people Hispanic because probably the culture,
Yeah, culture,
you know,
yeah.
cultura, but people don't understand for what happened coming people for here.
Yeah.
Because people here in America, people, for example, white people,
Yeah.
don't understand the people Hispanic because
Yeah.
white people probably is not have a poor,
Yeah.
you know, no understand for you having hungry,
Yeah.
or no understand because not having absolutely nothing in home.
Yeah.
The people come immigration here in America is for hungry, not having job,
Mm-hmm.
not having money, not having family,
Mm-hmm.
not having absolute nothing in the country,
Yeah.
you know? Only have a possibly coming here for make a different life.
Yeah.
One possibly, for example, having one house or possibly take a food,
Yeah.
you know? And the people don't understand for coming people, immigration here, and a lot of discrimination in the hospital, in the school,
Mm-hmm.
in the shopping,
Mm-hmm.
everything.
That's very interesting what you said. And you mentioned hospitals. And one thing that I like to key on was you mentioned schools and myself running for school board. That's something that I'm very keen on. Do you feel that our kids that are coming, immigrating here, are they getting enough from the school board? I mean, obviously you came as an adult already, but there are kids are coming over that are immigrating also with their family. Is there enough resources for these kids? What are we providing? Do you feel as an immigrant yourself and seeing these things, is the schools giving enough to that community?
¿Tú piensas que hay recursos suficientes para los estudiantes que han inmigrado aquí? ¿Tú piensas que hay
I don't think so. I
No.
don't think so. I having a lot of different for the people Hispanic in the school.
Mhm.
I have a lot. I don't have a voice, and
Mhm.
Hispanic don't have a voice for. No tienen voz.
The immigrant students that do come, they don't have a voice at the certain schools
In the
that they
school.
do attend to.
No have a voice because I don't have a problem recourse here.
So they're pretty much so. I'm trying to fathom around, and people will say numerous things about, immigration, the whole 9 yards, and this is not what this segment's about. The segment's about living as an immigrant here, and now our kids are here. Kids are sitting here going to school, and as a society, are we preparing them to be successful? Do you feel that, obviously you said that there's not enough for them, but what do you feel being part of being an immigrant and being part of the community? What do you feel needs to happen, not just in the school board, but across the county to be able to better serve our immigrated, population that's here?
¿Qué piensas tú que debe de pasar en las juntas de las escuelas para prepararnos nosotros como hijos y inmigrantes? ¿Qué piensas tú tiene que pasar para un mejor futuro para nosotros?
I think it is more opportunity for people, for the kids, Hispanic kids. Pienso que necesitamos que nos den las oportunidades de que nuestros hijos tengan un futuro mejor, que ellos puedan, que vean los recursos suficientes para ellos y que haya una voz que los representa.
She wants to see enough representation in the school as well as enough resources because she feels like we as students, whether we're immigrants or coming from immigrant families, we do not have a voice strong enough at school that says, hey, let me help you out.
And do you find that across Fairfax with other services, other things, beyond just the school?
Tú encuentras ese mismo problema alrededor de todo el condado, no solo en la escuela, sino en todo el condado en sí.
La mayor parte de la gente inmigrante no tiene representación.
Usually throughout the whole county in itself, there is not enough representation for Hispanic people or for the minority in general. She feels as though there is not enough people that will advocate for us and say, I will help you or I will do this for you.
Yeah. Now, I found in my district that the Hispanic community is number 2 behind the Caucasian community here in Providence. And so we do have a very strong Hispanic community here. And because we do, it brings, a lot of words to what are our politicians doing? They're not giving enough resources. They're not looking towards, okay, our diverse communities here, what are we doing for them? And I see it all the time, they pander for the votes. They want to get votes, so they go to the Hispanic community and they say, vote for me, we're going to do this. And at the end of the day, nothing happens, nothing comes. And, it's one of the reasons why I decided to run, not just because helping out the kids, but it's also representing, 2 cultures that I'm part of. But with that, what kind of racism are you seeing through your years? What kind of things have you experienced that because this whole segment is to help open the eyes of people that don't experience these things. Right now we hear a lot about the African American segment of society being, treated a certain way or, having to do with racism. But there's a whole nother segment, a huge segment, especially in more of the East Coast and different areas that experience racism that doesn't get a voice. So what have you experienced through your time?
¿Qué has tú experimentado acerca del racismo aquí en el condado en tu trayectoria de todos los años que has estado aquí?
A lot of experience, a lot, no tengo palabras para expresar todo lo que he tenido que vivir.
She has no words to express every single
For all
discrimination
of my
that she
work.
has faced herself throughout the 30 years that she lives here.
It's nothing easy. It's nothing easy. I remember always for people, por ejemplo, I don't know si es correcta la palabra cuando te dicen eres una estúpida, ignorante, vete a tu país.
They would
I picked up some of those because my
They
mom,
speak
yeah.
major comments that were made towards her were, "Oh, you're stupid, you're ignorant, you should go back to where you came from."
Han tenido que a veces golpear mi carro y se han ido sin tener que pagar.
Sometimes they would hit and run her. They would hit her car
Oh
just
God.
because of her race, and they would leave her car just there.
Amenazas.
She has also received threats alongside.
Is only time say go back, stay here, this is country, you back in your country. This is heavy. It's heavy.
No, and I can see, and this is why I want to do something like this, and this is why I asked you to be here, because when people were telling me, do it virtual side by side on the computer screen, you just don't get the same, and feeling your passion of what the pain you went through, and like I said, I've went through some of that where I served my country and I'm experiencing that, and I don't have an accent like that. I don't have a heavy Spanish accent. I don't have a heavy Filipino accent. But yet, because of the color of my skin,
Only looking for the skin color.
mhm,
This is impression first. Your face and your color.
and I think in what's happening in society is that everyone's been so sensitive not to say anything, or cross the line with the African American race, and I don't condone racism at all, but it turned to a point where we've gotten so sensitive, that we're not going to offend the African American race. We're going to watch what we say. But then you look at the Hispanic race, and it doesn't matter. It's like, well, you don't mean anything.
Yeah.
And it's a side of racism that is not brought out to the limelight. It's not brought out to the media. That I could feel your pain that you're going through, and I feel it to the bottom of my heart. And I can understand why my mom made that decision, so I wouldn't have to face. And my mom's Puerto Rican, but because her skin color and her heavy accent, even though she's an American citizen,
Yeah.
you're lumped in, stereotyped. So she did not want that for me, knowing that, I'm going to go through society, and she felt it was best to not teach me so I don't grow up with an accent and I don't have to deal with things that she dealt with. And so when we talk about this, racism that's happening, that nobody's talking about, it really affects me because I see it all the time. And I see it as a politician. Now, I hate to say that I'm a politician, but I guess I am. That there's a lot of pandering for their vote, but they really don't understand. They say, I'm gonna go meet with the Hispanic community and kind of hear, but you don't know the pain that the Hispanic community is going through, the racism.
People not thinking.
No, and they don't really understand the life that you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being told, why don't you go home? I mean, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody said the same thing to a black male? Why don't you go home to Africa? I mean, it'll be all over the news.
But usually it's people, black or white, sometimes I am a lot of discrimination for people Hispanic. A lot of
So you're getting it from the Black community too?
exactly, and black and the white is a lot of discrimination. People Hispanic for example, for why you care, for why you not back, for why you not stand. You're not supposed to see having opportunity in the school. You know, my daughter. I had three daughters. She graduated to the high school,
Mhm.
but my third daughter Anna, she in the school. It's nothing easy
No.
for she. It's nothing easy. But for me, go in the school, for example, she having, for example, one problem. The principal, the school no is listen, no listen unless people Hispanic, no listen. They say it's okay, I don't care. That's only Thai's problem for people Hispanic. Not everybody has problem. I just think it's my people problem have, for example, 50% problem,
Yeah.
but the rest 50% is problem. Only having give one opportunity here in America for living better.
And you know what? Let me just talk a little bit deeper on that with my experience and everything. And it seems like, for myself, because, it was put into a box, a stereotype that I personally shun away from my culture because I didn't fit in. I didn't want to be stereotyped. And that's a disservice, and it's feeling your pain. I'm feeling my pain because it reminds me of my childhood and everything I went through. It's hard living a life that you have to not be proud
Yeah.
of your race, of your ethnicity, that you're sitting back there trying to hide it because you don't want to be stereotyped. And hearing the worst of what could come out of someone's mouth. I mean, I've dealt with that, and people don't understand, the type of racism that you're actually getting, because it's not in the media. Nobody's really looking at that. And what I found was most immigrants that come over here, my dad, obviously born in Philippines, his whole family moved here by joining the Navy and served his country to help bring his family over. Married my mom, was stationed in Puerto Rico, married my mom. I was born in Puerto Rico, so I was born, because Puerto Rico is a territory, I was born an American citizen.
Yeah.
But still, when, going to schools and stuff, they see my birth certificate, they see it's all in Spanish. To a funny point that actually, when I went from the Secret Service to the CIA, one of my supervisors said, "You may want to figure out your dual citizenship." And I said, "What do you mean?" "You're dual citizen. You're also a Puerto Rican citizen."
Yeah.
And this is the government. And I actually said, "I'm a U.S. citizen, but your birth certificate says Puerto Rico. It's in Spanish. It's a territory, and I'm a U.S. citizen." And even then, in the government, look at me. They're saying that
Nothing regular.
the knowledge of not understanding
Mhm.
that just because my birth certificate is in Spanish doesn't mean that I'm a U.S. citizen, not a dual citizen. I laughed it off, but in retrospect, you kind of look at this, and me growing up, I shunned away from, like I said, from my culture, only because I didn't want to deal with the racism, the stereotype. And it's hard to live that way. It's only until now, moving into, having my career and kind of seeing things, and now, seeing my kids and stuff, I want them to be proud. And, we come from different paths coming here, but we have the same issues that we deal with, the same type of stuff. And for me, being born here, not having an accent, not knowing the language of either Tagalog or Spanish, I hid that portion of me so I wouldn't be lumped in to that racism. And still, because of the color of my skin, because of birth certificate that was in Spanish, I was still lumped into that in all aspects. And so now looking at it, I'm embracing it. And now I want to make sure that this is going out, that this racism, it's there and it needs to be addressed, and it can't be hidden, because it is truly is painful. And I can't imagine kids, growing up having to deal with that. Luckily, I grew up in San Diego, which is, a lot of Hispanics, but growing up in say, Virginia, I can't imagine, I dealt with it as an adult. I can't imagine the kids and how they're growing up and they're feeling like how I felt. Hey, maybe I need to take my culture, kind of put it to the side, because I just don't want to deal with that racism and that disconnect. So I want to talk a little bit about the pride that a lot of Hispanics have towards America. And it's something that is amazing. A lot of immigrants that I've came across, they're proud of, like yourself, El Salvador, proud. A lot of people I met, proud of Mexico when they're, that's where they're from. Honduras.
Guatemala.
They're proud, but they also have this pride of being in America. And on top of that, and I implore a lot of listeners out there, if you can, and these are free to go to, you need to go to a naturalization of immigrants. It's the most amazing, patriotic experience you're ever going to see. So what I want to talk about is a little bit about the patriotism that a lot of Hispanics in the community have, and the love they have for America, even though they're dealing with the racism. I want to kind of talk about your experience and the community, and talk with everybody out there about the pride, the love for the country.
Hablar del orgullo que sienten los hispanos hacia América y el orgullo que también ustedes tienen por ser, hispanos, por su cultura y todo eso. Básicamente él está diciendo que él quiere, pues, que tú hables de cómo hay cierta gente latina que siente patriotismo hacia América porque vienen aquí por una oportunidad, entonces se sienten orgullosos de ser americanos.
Se siente uno orgulloso de estar aquí y bendice esta nación por estar aquí. Y también se siente orgulloso uno de ser latino.
She says it's a balance of being prideful to be able to come here to America to experience an opportunity to have an open door. At the same time, it's a balance of being prideful from where they came from, who they are, where their origin is from, where their roots are coming from.
Para nosotros es importante cuando venimos para acá porque tenemos una oportunidad, decimos, pero a veces no nos dan las oportunidades.
For them as a Hispanic community, it is important for them to come here because they are deemed with the American dream, with an open door, with opportunities. They are offered that, yet many times as well, they're not given that opportunity that was offered from the beginning.
Nos forjamos caminos a la fuerza muchas veces para poder tener ciertas oportunidades que a veces nos cierran.
They would have to sacrifice, their own pathways in order for them to achieve something greater, because coming here to America sometimes would close great doors for them, even though they are sacrificing their own selves, their own lives in order to come for a better future.
Por ejemplo, en los trabajos.
For example, in jobs.
Los trabajos nos pagan a veces menos cuando no somos latinos que cuando son personas que no son latinas.
In jobs, she says in retrospect that if your job company knows that you're a Hispanic, they will initially start paying you less than if you were any other race, just because you speak Spanish or you are from Hispanic descent.
Hacen diferencias muchas en las compañías.
In the companies as well, they will make a great differences between you as a Hispanic and then every other race.
te forzan a trabajar más de lo que te toca, pero a veces ni te pagan el sueldo que te tienen que pagar.
They force you to work harder than you're supposed to, yet they still do not give you the pay that you deserve for working extra than you are actually supposed to be working.
Trabajé por 17 años en esa compañía
She worked 17 years in this one company,
y fue demasiado el abuso que hicieron con nosotros.
and to her, as well as peers that are Hispanic as well, there was a lot of abuse in that same company.
Hacían cosas, a veces trabajábamos, a veces los pagaban y nos decían que sí los iban a pagar, los pagaban, pero los quitaban a veces las horas después.
They would work overtime sometimes in hopes that the company would pay them extra because they said they would pay them extra. Yet after that, the company would cut their hours and cut their pay along.
La injusticia fue lo que me hizo salir también.
The injustice in that company is what made her quit her job.
And you start hearing these stories about that, and you know, fair wages. You know, we talk about fair wages for in society for everybody, fair wages, you know, living standards. Yet this underground thing that's happening to you doesn't get nobody. It's ignored.
Everybody ignored it.
And what it comes out to is it's just like this shadow people that they created, you know, the Hispanic community, especially the ones that are immigrating here, become the shadow community that are going to be treated as second-class citizens, where fair wages should be fair wages. America was built upon fairness. You know, I work to defend this country for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I feel that everyone should be equal, and that's all communities. And hearing these stories, hearing this, your real life experience of wages being dropped because you're Hispanic, about, you know, working hard in hopes to even get your wages to equal to somebody else. That's unheard of. And you know, we take a lot of the Hispanics, especially the community, for granted, you know, and, you know, politics play a lot of part. And I'm going to just dive in a little bit into the politics aspect. You know, we hear a lot about the, you know, Hispanic community, a lot of, you know, Democrats and conservatives going after the Hispanic community. And in reality, the Hispanic community is probably some of the most conservative, traditional people out there. Family values, work hard for your fair wages, pay taxes,
Always.
and you know,
nothing
free, working hard, because what you're describing to me, working for 17 years in this company, is that you worked hard just for respect and earned the same wages, and that hopefully one day they will give you that.
And the people support because I needed the job, support everything. And the people, my people, Hispanic, support all the way because I needed the job, I needed the money, I needed food for family.
Yeah.
You know, but or ignore the rule.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Su derecho, ¿cómo se dice?
The people would have to ignore their rights.
The rights. Ignore the rights, ignore the rule, everything. And for example, I have a lot of different examples. The school. I have different, one school, for example, middle school is only people, a lot of people Hispanic, it's different education, different money, different all the way. See, high school is only white people. It's a lot of opportunity for everything.
Yeah.
This is not only company, it's in the school, company, all the way.
Yeah. And that's not what, you know, America's about. America's about equality, you know, and we fight, you know, I fought so hard for that equality. and in hearing these things where, because of an accent, because of your heritage, because of the color of your skin, you're given less. And I think it's a disservice. I think it's something that needs to be brought to attention, and all the politicians say, we want equal for everyone, but no politicians are really diving in and saying, I want to work with the Hispanic community because there's injustices happening here, and we need to take care of this. It's kind of just thrown to the wayside. And every 4 years, when there's an election year, they go to the Hispanic community, say, we want to give you this, give you this, give you this. And as soon as they get the vote, they turn around and go the other direction.
Yeah.
And I think personally, and one of the reasons why I decided to now become a politician is I want to bring a voice to that. Because I experienced it personally, because my mom experienced it, because my dad experienced it. I want to bring a voice to the people that, this is actually happening. This is happening in everyday society. May not be happening in Southern California because there's more Hispanics over there. So but in other regions.
But here in Virginia, I have a lot of people more Hispanic.
And it's growing.
Yeah.
But we need good politicians. We need good Hispanic politicians to start moving into the ranks to be able to give that voice. And that's one of the reasons why, I personally decided going to the school board, because I think that's where I can have the most direct effect of helping the kids out. But we definitely need more politicians from the Hispanic community. We need as people that have the love for their heritage of where their ancestry came from, and the love of the country, and say, listen, I want to bring that balance back.
Yeah.
Do you think there's enough of those politicians out there? Do you think that they're doing enough to make awareness of this?
¿Tú crees que los políticos están usando sus voces para ayudarlos a ustedes o para advertirle a la gente qué es lo que está pasando en nuestra comunidad?
I don't think so que los políticos estén ayudándonos a nosotros.
She doesn't believe that politicians are helping us enough.
Only lo use.
They only use us for
Nos usan como su carnada.
They use us as, their own personal slaves, their own personal carnage.
Mm-hmm.
Only prome, and no make absolutely.
So you just look at votes.
No.
They only promise to do something, yet they won't do it.
And just to get that vote. So they'll come into the community, they'll come into the Hispanic churches, talk to get that vote, and then after the election, nothing.
Votaríamos siempre por la gente que va con valores y principios de acuerdo a nuestra fe.
A lot of us do vote in accordance of values that certain politicians present, that we have those same exact values, or depending on our faith as well.
Mm-hmm. And I know the Hispanic faith, just like the Asian faith, is very strong. It's something that the traditional values is huge. Do you feel that there's a segment of our country, with all the secular that's happening, is trying to influence our kids to shy away from the traditional values?
¿Tú piensas que en esa comunidad hay un segmento donde las personas de afuera están influenciando a nuestros niños a salirse de lo tradicional, a la cultura?
Too much.
Too much?
No solo los niños, sino en las escuelas están poniendo cosas que van en contra de nuestra fe.
Not only the kids themselves, but as well as the kids in school, they are implementing or forcing upon the kids things that go against of tradition or go against on faith of what we believe in.
quieren obligarlos a aceptar cosas que van en contra de nuestros principios y valores.
They want to obligate the kids to do things that go against of our values and our morals and our obligations.
Now, have you seen the community stand up? Do they have a voice, or is it this because the Hispanic community has been so swept under the rug and beat down as you don't have a voice? Do you feel that there's people representing you to say, hey, listen, we don't want these, we don't want our traditions, or is there people within the community trying to speak up for this, or is it just we're just going to accept it?
¿Tú piensas que hay personas en la comunidad que están tratando de hablar acerca de eso o piensas que se están quedando callados y aceptando la realidad?
Muchos se están quedando callados por miedo, quieren aceptar la realidad, pero otros no queremos callarnos.
A lot of them are staying silent due to fear, and they're just coming to terms with the reality that's happening. But there is also a vast majority that is trying to speak up, that is trying to advocate for those morals and those values that represent our tradition and our culture.
No, this was fantastic, and we're going to wrap it up here with this. We can continue talking about this forever, so I want to thank you on coming out.
Thank you for you.
And what I want to pass to everyone out there, these special segments that we're holding, it's about awareness. It's awareness of what's going on in our community, and you're not going to get these type of conversations on the mainstream media because it's kind of that shadow. We have people in the shadow that are treated like this. How can we believe that in today's society and with the understanding that we have tolerance, that things like this are still happening, where equal wages are not being presented, to where people are feeling that they have to, be embarrassed, like myself, be embarrassed of your heritage just to blend in. We are just a segment of a representation of what is out there, simply because of our skin color. And, the first change is taking that first step forward of awareness. And I hope, in your hearts, when you listen to this and see this, that you could take another worldview, another perspective of what's out there, what's happening. And, be very conscious to this segment, that this is happening and what can we do as a society to fix these things. I urge our politicians, my fellow politicians, I'm a politician now, to, stop pandering for votes. Actually get out there and do something. Actually go out and help the community, help the people that you are trying to get votes from. Myself, I will fight hard, tooth and nail every day to represent this community and represent their values and represent fair wages, because that's what they deserve. I thank you for this. I thank you so much for coming on board.
Thank you so much.
And if you have comments on this later down the road, please feel free to have a comment on this. I think we're going to do more segments of this and try to bring more community awareness of what's going on in our own backyards. So thank you so much, and you have a good night, and God bless.